Right. So you have defeated the terrible Glow Wyrm. And also, John, you have successfully staved off your bloodlust and did not slaughter the entire party. Beowulf was probably the weakest performer in combat but has now happily accepted all the credit and will be welcomed as a hero. Okay. So what do you think Beowulf learned from the Battle of the Glow Wyrm?
Jamie. We learned that great leaders surround themselves with people who are better than them in every way.
And do you think that is a heroic lesson that will make a positive influence on the next Odin?
Absolutely.
By felling the Glow Wyrm you have shown that you are able to triumph using brawn. Now let us see if the Beowulf crew can triumph against more subtle opponents.
Og. Nothing is beyond the reach of our Lord Beowulf.
You begin to feast and whore happily. While your lord is preoccupied, the king expresses concern that the battle with the Glow Wyrm had destroyed all the villagers' outer fortifications, leaving his village at the mercy of future threats, particularly the Grendel, who was very fond of his pet Glow Wyrm.
Og. We pledge to stick around and do what we can to assist in the defense of the city.
The king toasts Beowulf, who is clearly both a gentleman and a scholar.
Hear, hear.
Do any of you have any knacks pertaining to engineering or strategy?
Nope.
Okay, you can assist in digging ditches, building a wall, or go out seeking wood for the fortifications.
We split the party evenly and begin working.
Work moves slowly. You have trouble finding usable materials for the fortifications. Iris, while gathering materials you find that someone bumps into you and accidentally drops a knife. He apologizes profusely.
Iris. Okay. Og. I suggest to the king that perhaps we should tear down some unoccupied homes since we are struggling to find usable materials.
The king likes your suggestion. Beowulf hears of your plan and decides to run around the village with his axe and enthusiastically hacking down random houses.
Sigh. Here we go again. Does Beowulf at least go for unoccupied homes rather than smashing indiscriminately?
To August, survey says no. Jamie, while hard at work you meet a grizzled old veteran with many scars and missing limbs. He says he's been hearing about the prince of the village plotting against Beowulf.
Jamie. I shall call you Old Stumpy. What is the prince like?
According to Old Stumpy, the prince is very much an administrator rather than a warrior. He is not well liked in this Viking society as a result. Unlike, say, his older brother, who was very much the classic warrior noble.
So there are two princes?
No. The other prince has not been seen in some time. Rumor has it that he was plotting against the king and was exiled for it. Iris, while working you bump into a man who drops his knife again.
Iris. Do we find any usable wood while scavenging?
No, you are basically foraging through sticks. You do, however, find a body.
Do we recognize who it is? What does he look like?
It looks like a corpse. It's not like you've been in this village for more than a week.
Then we must loot. I mean, examine it more closely.
You find a ring on the corpse that looks noteworthy.
We must show Old Stumpy at once.
Old Stumpy recognizes the ring, of course, for he has lived in this village his whole life. It is one of the signet rings of the royalty here. This one belonged to the elder prince, who was supposedly exiled.
We go to king to tell him what we found. Iris. I tell the king we found his dead son. Og. I use my courtier skills to try and offer our condolences to diplomatically.
The king is deeply saddened by your findings, but your lord Beowulf tells the most stirring speech and moves the king to tears with his honeyed words. So successful is Beowulf's speech that the king offers yet another feast to honor him.
Og. I use my gossip skill and try to gauge the prince's reaction and try to find further details.
It has long been whispered that the princeling is responsible for the eldest son's death, seeing as the elder son was supposed to become the next king and was well liked for his warrior ways. The polar opposite of the princeling, who, while a very capable bureaucrat who keeps the village running smoothly, is a pale, scrawny child and very disliked by the villagers.
Iris. Does the princeling keep with certain company? Like, does he have people he clearly trusts?
You seem to notice a much larger man at his side frequently. If you ask around, villagers will tell you that he is a Bjorn Bjornsson.
We should probably warn our Lord Beowulf about the intrigue happening against him.
Beowulf believes that the best course of action is to kill one of the prince's closest allies to send him a grim message.
Og. This seems like a totally legit mob-like response. I agree with our lord. Others? No. Og. Lame.
Is there anything else you would like to do before you call it quits and go to the feast hall once again?
No. I think we've done all we can with the fortifications.
Okay then, team. Since none of you have skills in tactics or engineering or specified how you wish to lay out the fortifications, here is what you successfully accomplished today. You have erected a respectable wooden wall at the expense of random villagers' houses which your lord smashed to bits. You have also dug a ditch within the interior of the wall with spikes.
Iris. Shouldn't the ditches be outside the walls? Og. This is brilliant. Now when would-be invaders scale the walls, they'll fall into our clearly well-placed ditches. John. I hate you all.
Let the feasting and whoring begin.
Iris. Do I see Bjorn Bjornsson around?
No, he is conspicuously absent from the feast.
I poke around outside searching for him.
You notice that the house that your party has been using has its door wide open.
I search the house. What do I find?
You note that Lord Beowulf's sword given to him by the king missing.
I return to the party and tell them what happened. Jamie. I tell Lord Beowulf about his missing sword.
An inebriated Beowulf with his arms around two wenches, a mug of mead in one hand, a haunch of meat in the other hand, totally acknowledges that you are saying words at him. Soon after this happens, the king suddenly falls ill.
We immediately take him to his quarters and attempt to see what is wrong.
Jamie, since unlike August, you have actual medical skills, you are able to discern that poison contributed to the king's current condition.
Iris. I tell the king that it is without a doubt his scheming son's foul play that surely caused this.
The king says that is nonsense, and tells you that the prince is a good son. He even chased away his no-good other son whom he had once placed all his trust in.
The king seems unwilling to budge in his faith in his son. Maybe we need more proof before we can sway him. Let us tell Beowulf what happened.
Beowulf again kind of acknowledges you. Those who are around the king's quarters can make a perception check.
Garrett. I am there. What do I see?
You see the princeling sneak into the king's quarters. If you watch carefully, you see him pull out a vial of liquid and give it to the king.
Garrett. I make raises to fire an arrow with laser-like accuracy to snipe the vial out of the prince's hands.
You successfully prevent the prince from giving the liquid to the king. The prince begins to flee from the king's quarters.
We chase down the prince.
You chase the prince into the feast hall kitchen. What you find is a scene of bloodshed. The cook is dead. There are also several other mangled bodies and a prince on the floor with blood pooling out of his throat which has been slashed open, and there is a monstrous humanoid figure standing over him. Guys, say hi to the Grendel.